Hey everyone, how you doing today? Episode number 3 is probably a session you've all been waiting for. It's like, all right, guys, tell me about your wins and losses. You've told me about how hard being an entrepreneur and building wealth is. You've also told me it's simple. Now shut up and tell me the real stories. So Omar, you got any stories that jump out, or you want me to go first?
You go first. You got the light. Go for it.
Hey man, so one of the things, there's a story I have. I call it the hammer story that I haven't told very often. So lots of people know about my first rental. It's written about in my book. It was a horrible experience. We lost a bunch of money right out of the gate, but it worked out okay. What many people don't realize is as you own units and having thousands of tenants over the last couple of decades, you realize just how mean some people could be. So the story about this hammer property is one of my apartments. The tenant came in to pay rent, or who we thought was the tenant came in to pay rent, and we realized that the name on the check didn't match the lease. So we're like, what gives? Did the person have a roommate? What's going on? My property manager did their job. So what we uncovered, we didn't take the check because it didn't match the lease, and we didn't know the story. So we contacted the person who was on the lease, and we found out that they sublet the property, which is a lease violation.
Ooh.
Right? Bad, right? Not cool. So we went back to the tenant and said, hey, you were going to pay rent. We would like you to stay if you qualify. Because again, we are doing our jobs, right? So we are going to qualify the tenant. As it turns out, the prospective tenant filled out the application and lied about everything except their name, where their job was, their income, all of this stuff. Turns out they were an illegal drug seller, right? They were selling drug stuff. And which of course breaks the lease, criminal activity, not approved. So we start an eviction, which is the right thing to do, right? Sublet, not cool. Drug dealer, not cool. Get them out of my apartment. So lo and behold, this individual knows that they are days away from being evicted. So they throw out and invite people to what they called a hammer party. Basically, come to my property and bring a hammer. We have pictures of the post. So lo and behold, cops are called, right? Because it's destructive, it's loud. My tenants are scared, and we go. Some people get arrested because of parole violations. One of them is the tenant. They went to jail, but we get to see the property the next day, and lo and behold, there's little holes on all of my drywall. But bathrooms busted up, all the tiles busted up because again, people came in with hammers and went to town. And that was a $20,000 loss. Everything was damaged. It was a total wreck. So, that can happen, and that's a bad day.
Bad day.
It's a bad day.
I've not heard that one, man. That's crazy.
I don't tell that one a lot. Yeah, it's called a hammer party. Like, I know Hammer Time, right? MC Hammer, but no, I never knew of a hammer party. That was just mean.
God, that sucks, man. That is mean for sure.
So you got a bad story, then we'll flip the script to some just awesome stuff.
Yeah. Quickly, I'll do a bad story here. I bought a house from the owner, subject to, meaning that I paid the consumer, or I paid the owner some money, left the loan in their name, and me making the payments. He wanted to sell it quickly, so I said, okay, no problem. I actually had it listed initially, and then he's like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do this instead? Can you just buy it from me? I said, yeah, no problem. Let's go. And this was 4 years ago. And the tenants that were there were some family members of his, but it was his home. And next thing you know, I meet the tenants, I talk to them and everything, and they were understanding that they were going to be receiving some money from the sale of the house, and he was going to give them, a bonus for saying thank you or whatever the case. I mean, that's between them.
Right. No
No agreement, no nothing. It was just normal. And they understood that they had to go leave. So I don't know, something happened. Somebody, some family members said something to them. And next thing you know, that they're saying, no, this is my home. And mind you, I'm already the owner.
Right.
The tenant is saying that this is their home now. And they got a lawyer, all this other stuff. And literally, this is the home that I'm paying for every single month at about $1,000 a month. Okay. With zero rent, with people living in the home thinking it's theirs. And I bought it from the seller directly. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're claiming equitable interest, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, and I've been doing this business a while. So it's like, okay, well, how can you claim equitable interest? Lawyers get involved. We're still in litigation.
Wow.
Okay. Still to this day, 4 years later, I'm in this property about $90,000 and I got zero return on my money. Zero. So that means 90K gone. See you later. Bye. Okay. With the same people in the house still. So mind you, COVID happened. We were almost close to being done. And guess what happened?
Yeah.
The pandemic hit, stopped everything. Now we don't have a court date until next year.
Jesus.
And this is, I'm sorry, the end of 2021, I think October, November of this year. Okay. So I'm telling you, this stuff, I mean, if you were to tell me, hey, you want to do it again? I would have walked away from this deal. I paid $18,000 or $19,000 for the house. Okay. With the mortgage balance of 130K. So I paid like 160,000 or so total, right? I didn't do no improvements. The house at the time was worth about 220K, 230. So it was a decent deal. It wasn't great. Now the market's appreciated. Now it's worth about 330, 325. So now my investment is super, it's a great return, providing I get the return.
Yeah.
Because now all of the money there, it's just a long story. The aspect of it is just be careful, really vet everyone out there and get tenants to sign pieces of paper that state that they are only tenants and they're going to be receiving compensation from the sale. Have them sign something so then they can't come back and say, oh, by the way, I'm the owner. And it's like, which everybody knows everywhere that they're not the owner of the property.
Yeah. The power of an estoppel letter.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, pretty crazy. That's a great story. Well, let's talk about the other side of being just success in this business, because let me promise you a couple of things. Everybody talks about the bad days. I mean, how many times have I heard termites, toilets, tenants, trouble? The good days far outweigh the bad, right? You know, let's take that first story, which I write about in my book of Norris Drive, where I lost 15 grand when the tenants stopped paying and all of that. What you don't realize is that one house, first off, allowed us during a cash out refi to buy two more. So my money had two more babies without any more of my hard-earned equity. That house then was sold via a 1031 into an apartment building I still own today, right? It has been producing cash flow for years. So that one house that I put 20K down, let's even take into account the 15K I lost with the eviction and maintenance. So I'm into a house 35 grand in 2003, probably early, maybe mid 2003. That $35,000 has added $700,000 to our net worth over 18 years. You know, oof. Not a bad deal. Yeah. What about you?
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Sorry, it kind of froze there for a second. So yeah, that's great deal. I would say this is funny. 2010, bottom of the market. I was an REO agent, and I had properties that the banks would give me to sell.
Yeah.
And I had a plethora of freaking, houses that sat on the market. You couldn't give them away. So this one house in particular, I ended up buying, negotiated with the bank. It was a secondary, third person. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a normal bank. Anyways, they wanted 70K for it. I negotiated them down to 40,000 bucks that I borrowed money on. Okay. I had 25,000 at the time. So I ended up borrowing 30K, and I had a $30,000 note. I put 10K in it because I had to rehab the house and everything else. Well, that property I still own. Nice. Okay. At the peak, it was worth $260,000. And then it crashed, obviously, in 2010, I ended up buying in late 2009, 2010 for 40 grand. Well, that place has been rented out just that one, has been rented out for the last 11 years at a tune of $1,200,
Yeah.
a month with zero debt on it, because I ended up borrowing more money for another property that I ended up selling, which I shouldn't have sold, but it made 2 or 3 more babies, like you
Right.
said. And that one there was clear. And that one property has paid me at least 10 years, 12, 150,000, almost $170,000 worth of income
Yeah.
on a $40,000 investment that I still own today. And it's worth right now probably 240.
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
I mean, these are wins, but you gotta struggle to get to them. And you gotta know that, hey, listen, don't stop your day job. The day job in this case was commission checks. And mind you, our commission checks were $2,500,
Oh, they're tiny.
$1,500,
Yeah.
$1,800, because the price points were 110,000. I was getting 2% on it.
Yeah.
So imagine that. I had to accumulate all these commission checks to make sure that I was good to go.
Yeah.
I'll share one more win real quick.
Please.
The house that I had lived in, I still own it today, but I lived in this home. I was friends with the tenant next door. Okay. It was a 4-plex tenant. We were always talking back and forth with the fence. He let me know the minute that there was a letter on the door. And that letter on the door means that the property was foreclosed on. Okay. And he's like, dude, what's this mean? What's this mean? I said, give me that letter. I'm going to give you some money. Give me the letter. Let me find out who it is. I went straight to that listing agent. I said, listen, I live next door. I happen to know her. And I said, I want this house. You can represent me. I want the 4 units directly next door to my house.
Yeah.
Let's do this. 2010, middle of 2010. They wanted 170. I got them down to 117. And I bought a 4-plex for 117 that I still own today. It cash flows $3,200 a month.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. All based on a conversation and a relationship that was built from a neighbor.
That's awesome.
I didn't know that piece of paper. I would not have known those properties were for sale. I would have seen them on the market, but not beforehand.
Exactly.
So
yeah, folks,
that's a good win.
Again, if you're in this business, you got to be growing your network all the time. Do the work, grow your network, tell people what you're doing. You just never know. And frankly, the deals I got done in 2020 were all my network. I still wrote offers, didn't get anything, but my network brought me 6 deals last year. So Omar, man, being a real estate entrepreneur, building wealth, tons of fun. Thank you for your time this week. All right.
You're welcome. Thanks, Michael, for having me. Later, guys.